Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning study. We're going to be looking at what we looked at yesterday, dealing with these lines, dealing with Pope Leo, James Comey, and so forth. We'll see how this is going to relate to what we're studying in First Samuel. Obviously, there is some connections. But before we do that, let's begin with a word of prayer. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we invite your presence into our midst. We know, Lord, that you have been teaching us, and we don't fully understand the purposes that you have. But we just ask, Lord, that we can learn the lessons you have for us. We ask that your Spirit can fill our hearts and minds, and that we can understand the things that we are studying and its purposes. And we just ask for your daily guidance and for your help for each of us in the trials that we face that you have allowed for our good. So we give our hearts to you and ask that you be here now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so you may notice, those who have seen this study yesterday, I've added a little bit to this chart. So one of the things, well, I'll tell you how when I was walking this morning, I was thinking about this and thinking about the seven kings. Well, basically, it's November 8th. I didn't put that on here, but November 8th, 1988 is when Bush the First is elected as president. And then on January 20th, 1989, he's going to become the first king of those last seven kings of the United States, if that makes sense. Right, the seven kings that are in Revelation 17. And these seven kings, it doesn't mean that there couldn't be other presidents after Trump. It's lining up the first seven kings just as we would with the kings of Persia. So we know we have, Cyrus, Cambyses, Falsmurtus, Darius the Great, Xerxes, Artabanus, and then Artaxerxes. And we have, of course, Trump lined up with Xerxes and now Artaxerxes. And Biden lined up with Artabanus, who was a placeholder. Biden definitely was a placeholder, not a president who was all there. And then we had this understanding that after these seven kings, the seventh continues a short space, and then we have the eighth, which is of the seven. That is, we have an American Pope. So the first American Pope, Leo the 14th. And Kelly Russell was the one who noticed this, and definitely it was something that for him was important, and I think it's obviously important for all of us. But it wasn't until May 15th when James Comey posted on his Instagram account that 8647 number, which is Trump, right? Basically, assassinate Trump or whatever, get rid of him, but implying, maybe assassinate, right? That's the possibility. The interesting thing was the next morning, early in the morning, I got a Facebook Messenger, and with this picture of the seashells on the sand in the beach. And I noticed right away that that's going to be pretty close to being the number of days from September 11th, 2001. So checked right away. And there it was. 8,647 days from September 11th, 2001, which is May 15th, 2025, my daughter Elizabeth's 28th birthday. We have this 8,647 days and that number. And that, of course, as we looked at it, we could see it was 7 days after Pope Leo was elected. And then that gave us the 8,640 days from September 11th, 108 days from January 20th, 2025. So when Trump became the seventh king, you have that short space. And we'll go through some of this again in more detail. Now, so while I was on my walk, I was thinking about the presidents. And the number of days in 4 years on the Julian and then Gregorian Julian consistently, Gregorians, there are some years where they don't have leap years, but you have 461 days between each of these periods. So I'm just going to copy this thing here. So what I did is I put the different inaugurations, even though sometimes these are going to be, so each one of these would have 1,461 days. I don't know. Just copy and paste this all. And so I just did a simple calculation is if I took, 4 years for each president. That is, I just multiplied, it's kind of stupid because there's, some of them have 8 years, but that's the way my mind works. Sometimes it works wrong, but it's always for a purpose. So, so I took a calculation of that and I got the number 8766. So the number 8766, that's just basically it's 6. So I did 6 times 4 years. So 8766 is 24 years. And then I subtracted 876. Well, I subtracted 8647 from 8766, and I got 1119. And so obviously, if I take that, let me see here. So I counted from September 11th, 8,766 days would go to September 11th, 2025. So that would be 24 years, right? Does that make sense to people? So if I just take this, borrow this, and do that. So obviously it's just putting that up here. No, right. So you can see if I add this here, I get 8,766 days. And that's just basically 24 years, right? September 11th, 2001 to September 11th, 2025. And so let's just go through this a little bit more detail. So we have obviously November 9th, 1989, the time of the end, the 4,324 days to September 11th, 2001. And May 15th, 2025, James Comey posts this 8647 number, which is to get rid of Trump. And that is actually the number of days from September 11th, 2001. Now, if we doubled the period of time from November 9th, 89 to September 11th, 2001, we're going to get 8,648 inclusive days to May 15th, right? We could just argue, I discovered this on May 16th, and that's going to be 8,648 days, pardon me, from September 11th. So that could just be pointing to that day, but we'll leave it at that. Which also would make from that date 8 days to September 11th. So the symbol for August 11th, or the 11th of August, however you want to say it. Now, we'll come back to these kings in a minute, but just a few more things that we noticed yesterday. So the 7 days between Leo, the 14th, and James Comey's Instagram post becomes significant, because if we take 8/5/25 as a number, right? So that's the date, 8/5/25, the 8th of May 25, and you add the 7. Well, this period of time between September 11th and Trump's inauguration is 8,525 days plus 7 days. So this confirms this January 20th date. Now the 108 days connection and 8,640 days. So you got that 108 days between Trump's inauguration and Leo. That's the short space. So the 7th king shall continue a short space. And we say, since there's 1,080 parts in a Hebrew day, or pardon me, an hour, that would be 1/10 of an hour. So that would be, if you just took the number 108 as parts, that would be 6 minutes. The 8640 is 1/10 of the number of seconds in a day, right? Because there's 86,400 seconds in a day. So both of these relate to time. Now Stephen had noted if you take, and I probably should create a box with this explanation. Just steal this box, put it over here. So the 8640 days, that is, there's 86,400 seconds in a day, right? Oops. You can see I'm a dyslexic typer. There we go. And 86400, if we divide it by 8, that equals 1080, the number of parts, right? In a Hebrew hour. So it's kind of interesting. And if we take 86,400 and divide it by 6, we get 1440. Is that correct, Stephen? Did I do this right? I'm just doing it from memory.
Yeah, well, that looks good.
Yeah, and that's the number of course, that's the number of minutes in a day, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. No, no, this is wrong. I'm supposed to take this number. I knew there was something wrong. There we go. I have to take actually 8,000. I have to do it like that because that would be 80 and 60 if I had those. Okay, yeah. I knew I was doing something wrong. You should have noticed that, Steve. Yeah, I have to actually take that number of days and divide it by 8. That number of days divided by 6. Right. Now,
what was September 11th again? What was that again?
in 2001?
Yeah, September 11th. Yeah.
No, that's 9/11.
Oh, okay, of course.
Okay.
Right.
Now we know that in Acts, this is going to be 15 fathoms, and this is right. I'll just put equal. Whoops. Right. In Acts, we had that 15 fathoms thing, and this was the 20 fathoms, and we know 1080 plus 1440 equals 2520, right? So that thing from Acts 27 is what this ties us to, right? So that's going to be an important part of how we understand things. And then we have, okay, so then we have this, just trying to see anything else. Is there anything else I forgot to mention? I can't think of anything. Okay, so that was sort of the analysis we had of these spans of time. Now, of course, the likelihood that this is just random is pretty much 0. I mean, you would not have something like this occur randomly. So it does show design. And I think we have to take it that this is purposeful. What it means is another question. Now, so at the bottom here, I guess what I need to do is put who these kings are. So here we're going to have Bush the First, and he serves only 1 term. And then you get Clinton, right? And he's going to serve 2 terms. And then you're going to have Bush the Second. He'll also do 2 terms.
And Obama does 2 terms.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're going to have Obama doing 2 terms. So what did I do wrong here? Is there something I did wrong? 9, 13, 17. Oh, yeah. So Bush does 2 terms. Obama. Oh, right. I see. Biden, then have Trump, then Biden. Okay. I keep always forgetting that I'm just dealing first with the 6, right? So I'm going to have, so the 7th is going to start on the 25th. Okay. And then I'm going to have Obama, got Obama the Great, and then we got Trump, because Obama lines up with Darius the Great. And then you got Biden. And then, well, I guess, if I was to take this here and put it, you're going to put Trump again. I guess I could have copied the Trump one. Now, you got the 108 days, right? So this is the whole period of time. If we're just counting from the January 20th dates, right? So you basically have 9 times 1461, which is 13,149 plus 108. So if I was just counting that whole period of time, it's 13,257 days. So we're just counting to Pope Leo, right? So we got the 7 kings, and then we have Pope Leo, right? So I guess I could take this, just take it from up here, just so you can see where the 108 days are. Okay, so we got it this way. Okay, does that make sense to people what I did?
Okay, now there's one issue.
Okay.
Obama's first term went for 1,462 days, and his second went for 1,460 days.
And why was that?
Because inauguration day, January 20th, fell on a Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about. So we would have here 62, and this is going to be 60. Okay, so that is correct then?
That would be correct.
Yeah.
I was looking at trying to determine when that could, if that last had happened, and that's the information I have.
Okay. Yeah, so here we're doing some analysis of this, whether it's going to yield anything or not.
So you got the fathoms and acts right there, right?
Yeah,
15,
fathoms
20.
from acts. Yeah. So Kelly's putting information there. I don't know if any of it's relevant at this point. It just says, 6:08 p.m. May 8th, 2025, in the 4th round of voting. The second day of the conclave, Prevost was elected Pope.
That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Presidents that have been sworn in recently on January 21st, you would have Eisenhower, Reagan, and Obama. So when Reagan started his second term, that ended on July 20th of 1989, his term at that point would have been 1,460 days.
Okay.
Now, I have another question that might be a rabbit trail. I'm trying to see if there's anything about this that might impact with what we're studying. How many days do we have between July 20th, 1903 and May 8th, 2025?
Okay, so July 20th, 1903?
03.
Oh, what's that date?
That's when Leo the 13th.
Oh, okay. So you're just saying how long between the two Leos?
Right.
Okay. Well, 44,495. So I don't know if that's significant or not. Now, of course, now what's the significance of the 119 days from James Comey's, and of course, what's 119 plus 7?
126.
Yeah, so you got 126 days in there as well. So I could do it. I don't know how to do that. Fit that in there. But anyway, yeah, you got 126 days. So I think that's pretty significant as well, right?
have to agree.
Yeah. So the 11-9 symbol, of course, representing November 9th. It's another way, or September 11th, if you want to look at it that way. But it connects that November 9th date to that date as well. So you've got November 9th with 4,324 days to September 11th, and then the doubling of that brings you to May 15th. And then, of course, you can go to September 11th, 2025 and go back 119 days, and that will bring you to May 15th. And then we have, of course, the 126 days from Pope Leo, and then the 108 days in there with between Trump coming into power and Leo the 14th being elected. Okay, so now, I got the 119 by just doing math, dealing with 6 kings, and then getting that number that was the difference between the two. So the 8766 minus 8647 gives us that 119 days. And so then obviously that's the number of days there. But let's kind of did it roundabout. Yeah, so they have the mass, the inauguration mass on May 18th will be the formal installation ceremony. So that was, of course. He gets the fisherman's ring and the pallium, whatever that is, as symbols of his papal office.
Pallium, I believe it's a will investment.
What's that?
I believe the pallium is a will investment.
Okay, so something he wears his clothes, investment. Yeah. Okay, so I was doing some other calculations here. Okay, so I have 28. Okay, so if we go, I don't know, I have some other numbers here just dealing with different spans, but I don't know if they're significant without spending time with them. But so if we, I think for now, it's probably, okay, so we got these 6 kings, right? Or 7 kings, I guess. But, we could probably, group. So Clinton's going to have 1461 and 1461. So that's 2922. It's 2922 days he rules. Same with Bush II. Obama still going to have 2922. Trump has 1461, and then 108, 1569, until Leo becomes Pope. Pope. Yeah. So some people think that Comey's motivation for the 8647 was because he's coming out with a book soon, trying to get publicity. Who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure he was walking along the beach and saw these seashells in the sand and took the picture. And I'm pretty sure he knew what it meant. So I don't think it was well thought out. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
Right.
Who knows though?
Right. Yeah. It's hard to know.
You see thumbprints and you see big thumbprints near the letters.
What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. It's like something you did.
Well, whoever put them there, I saw footprints. I didn't see thumbprints, but
Yeah, probably footprints. Yeah.
yeah, but because those shells are still fairly big, I think. I don't know how big seashells are. Where would that have been? Just
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder where he lives.
Yeah.
The East Coast somewhere, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's pretty significant. I mean, the fact that James Comey did that, and it happened to be 8,647 days, I don't think is something that we can just dismiss.
Or would y'all want to know that let somebody know where you live after doing that?
I don't understand your question.
I said, would y'all want somebody to know where you live if you did that?
Well, people know where Comey lives. It's not some mystery. I don't know where he lives, but it's not a mystery where people live. You can always find that out. But whether it was by his house or he was on vacation or whatever, I don't know. Yeah. So I don't quite understand, William, what the point of that is, but it's probably just me. Okay.
If I did something like that, I wouldn't want nobody to know where I live because they'd be coming after me.
You mean Comey posting the Instagram? But everybody knows where Comey lives, though. He's not in some secret place.
You just said you didn't know where he lives, so not everybody knows.
Well, yeah. Well, I definitely don't. But if I wanted to find out, I could find out.
And I don't know where he lives, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think there's anything about secrecy. I don't think there's a secrecy in this. Anything else we can do with this? Yeah, Google knows where he lives. So, I mean, we could put the 126 days in there somehow. I just don't know. But I think that's pretty significant. So it ties together all these different dates. Now, how this particularly relates to our study in 1 Samuel that we've been doing, that's what this study has been on, the kingdom of Israel. So we've been using these numbers, counting dates from September 11th, 2001, right? So we had, these different waymarks that we had in all these different diagrams. In 1 Samuel chapter 20, we had all these different symbols. We counted from 9/11, different spans of time. I mean, it's pretty profound. And then we looked at the first angel there, and then we started looking at 1 Samuel 21 verses 1 to 6. And that's where we were at when we were looking at this. And I'm just looking at some of these numbers. So, I mean, I haven't put all of those dates of the presidents where they would line up as, adding them up in different lengths, which is something I might want to do, and see how that relates to spans of time. So we know we have November 9th, 1989, and we have 9/11. These become these primary waymarks in our lines. They have been for a long time. The first part of 1 Samuel 21 addresses October 13th and November 9th, 2019, as well as July 18. And then we dealt with the chiasm, the Levitical chiasm, and the symbols of the Sabbath, H7676, that represents 7 times 6 is 42. So that represents the 2/1260s of the week of Christ, or, the counterfeit as well. And then we have the word table for the table of showbread. That gives us the Levitical chiasm. And then we have this diagram. So we're relating all of this to 1 Samuel. And the question is this just a confirmation of how we have been counting days from September 11th? I mean, I would think that at least it's showing that much. I mean, that to me is just so crazy that he's going to publish that number on that number of days from 9/11, and that it's going to give us this structure. Without that, we wouldn't have all of these different ties to the structure, right? You understand what I'm saying? So if James Comey hadn't have posted that number, we would still have the 108 days between January 20th and May 8th, 2025. But we wouldn't have that 7 days to Comey's post. And so we wouldn't have that 8525 plus 7, right? That is the 8th of May, 2025 plus the 7 days to get us 8,525 days plus 7 days, right? So we wouldn't get that number. It just, there would be 7 days missing. So you need that James Comey post as part of this. And then we have to say, well, what does James Comey have to do? Yeah, okay. And Kelly posted this thing, the 8647 and 8646 themes have been used as political slogans and on T-shirts during the administrations of both Trump and his predecessor, Democratic President Joe Biden, the 46th U.S. president. So the 8646. Now that would be the number of days between that, but we have this 8647. It becomes major news. You know, I mean, it is pretty bizarre. I mean, if it's just a coincidence, that would be a very bizarre coincidence. Now, I kind of posted it on lots of different videos, and I only had like 2 people who even noticed or cared. One guy said, "Really?" Another guy said he didn't even understand my thing. He thought that I said James Comey posted it on 9/11, and he didn't even understand what I was saying. So I don't know if people are noticing it, the number of days, or whether it means anything to other people. But it's the thing that opens up this diagram. Like otherwise, we wouldn't have. Like we would have the 8,640 days to Leo, and we would have the 108 days from January 20th, 2025 to Leo. But we wouldn't have that other calculation that ties in the January 20th date to the May 8th date. So we need that 7 days in there. And of course, the 126 days to September 11th, 2025 would still exist, but it wouldn't be quite the same, right? Like what we have is an external event, something that, is separate from Leo, right? So you got Leo, we could say, well, that's, Trump, that's an external event. So our 3 different, like is Trump representing the United States, Leo representing the papacy, the beast, right? And then Comey representing the globalists, the dragon power. Would that make sense? What do people think there? Like, because I still don't understand what Comey is. I mean, we could call him Commie, and then, that would help. James Comey. We would see that he represents, I mean, he definitely represents the left, but are we going to say that these 3 represent those that become part of the threefold union eventually under Pope Leo? And the other question, Stephen, what have you talked to Odilio about this more recently, or?
About the Comey thing?
Yeah.
Haven't, no.
Okay. Because I wonder what he would think of it. Is he still going that Trump is the 8th, or is he, like, where is he with Trump?
Well, he's been listening into the Canadian group, so I would think he's maybe more into that, but I'm not too sure whether he's settled in it.
Okay. Well, you have contact with him. You need to convince him differently.
I'll probably be in touch with him at some stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Kelly put a post there dealing with the U.S. slang. The number 86 can be used as a verb meaning to throw somebody out of a bar for being drunk or disorderly. Trump is the 47th president of the United States. The Merriam-Webster dictionary says on its website that one recent meaning of the term 86 was to kill, but that it had not adopted it due to its relative recency and sparseness of use. Now, so one of the things I dislike about the internet is they sometimes change their dictionaries as for political reasons. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that, but there is tons of references to it being used to do away with someone. But yeah, they're trying to downplay the idea that it means to kill someone. So you don't like it that you can have information just changed. Right, and I think other people have probably noticed that. Wikipedia will update things for political reasons when they become issues. That's why it's nice to have a hard copy, encyclopedia set. You can look back at an old encyclopedia and it might tell you something quite different than an online encyclopedia. So, but yeah, So I think the idea that it means to kill somebody is pretty solid. Also to get rid of a body. But I mean, if that person's alive, you can't get rid of his body without killing him, to dispose of a body. Yeah, Wikipedia does have the history changes in it, which anyone can view, but a lot of the dictionaries do not, right? And I often go through the history of changes in Wikipedia. That's why I know they change things, because I've seen them do it. So anything else about this, or should we go back to 1 Samuel, start looking at some of the things there? Yeah, I know 187 is a code for homicide. Yeah.
So if it was to do with killing Trump, I was looking back at the date, 13th of July, 2024. So that was when he was nearly killed.
Okay.
And so it's 306 days, I think, or 307 inclusive to when Comey. But it's 300 days then inclusive to the Pope being.
Okay, so which day was that? July what?
The 13th.
Okay, yeah, the 7 and.
Yeah, so that's 432,000 minutes or seconds. I can't remember one of them, which is half of 8640 in a way, kind of thing.
Okay, so you're taking so the number of days is, you're saying from July 13th to when? To Comey's post is 300.
Yeah, well, I've done that first, but I find the information more interesting, the math more interesting, taking it to when the Pope was elected.
That's 299 days?
Yeah, with an inclusive count.
So 300 with an inclusive?
Yes.
Okay. So 300 days. Okay, so 300 days, and you multiply it by 1440. Yeah, so that's half of, okay. So that's half. If you double that, it's going to give you 8640000. Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, we also have 191 days to Trump's inauguration. So, or is that right? Yeah, 191 days. And 191, what's 191, Dwight? If Dwight's there, because he did presentations on it.
Well, you have 191 from 1798 to 1989.
Yeah, we have that. We also have 191 BC, right?
That's the midpoint between the 62 weeks.
Yeah.
And you've also got 9/11.
And you got what?
9/11.
Yes. So 9/11 and 11/9, it's the digits of 9/11 and 11/9. So it's an ambiguous, or maybe ambiguous, isn't it? It can be either one, right? Because you got, this ambiguous is kind of a good term for it, because you flip the one over to one side, you got 9/11, flip it over to the other side, you got 11/9, right? So it represents those two dates in one symbol, if that makes sense.
But that, in that 191, that was also tied in 191 BC with those that entered into the league where they should not have.
Right. Yeah. So we got the 191 BC date that Dwight had done presentations on, which is the middle of the 62 weeks as well. So some powerful symbols along with this. What else was there? Yeah, and we know that the 108 plus the 7 gives us the 187 as well, right? So that's homicide, right? Just referencing the homicide thing. So the 187, you got the 187 in there. So relating to the idea of homicide, and then the 86, which means to kill, so to kill Trump. So you see, well, I'm gonna put that the Trump assassination attempt in here. Not that it's a major thing, but
That goes 187 is part of the California penal code.
is what?
It's part of the California penal code.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just put that there. That gives us both those symbols. Okay, so if it's 191 days and then 108 days. Okay, yeah, so that's the 299, 300 inclusive. Yeah, so 187 code is derived from California Penal Code, section 187, which defines murder as unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus with malicious aforethought. Yeah. Okay. I know we're spending a lot of time looking and analyzing this chart, and I still think there's probably more that we could notice. Okay. Why is it important to note that this code is specific to California and not a universally used police code for homicide? I mean, because we have things like 411, 911. 911's not universal when it comes to emergencies. 411 information, that's not universal. Some things apply to the states, some things apply to other places, but they don't apply in the entire universe. So, but I think it's the fact that it is commonly noted, especially because it's in California and you get a lot of television and movies and stuff coming out of California, lots of shows done in California. So you see it in movies used. So it's in a sense, everybody knows about it. Like it's not just people in California know about it, but we have these symbols. So we have these symbols, the 187, the 86 connected there. Now, I still think that we would want to connect that back to July 13th, 2025. Oh, another thing that I thought about, and I haven't done much with it because we've been doing other things, but we're going to have a Trump at in 2017, which I believe it's March 25th, if I remember correctly, that he's going to do a speech at NATO, and that's going to be 9,999 inclusive days from November 9th, 1989. 7/13/24. Oh, I didn't change that. Yeah, there we go. Actually, I tried to, but I think I hit the 5 instead of 4. Okay. So, so that date, if somebody can check it out, I'm pretty sure that was the date. From 9/11, that's, yeah, so from 9/11, it's going to be 5,674 days. So I don't know if I should put that in there or not, if it's significant. Now just being 9,998, cardinal days. Oh, so the reason why I bring up that NATO speech. So in the NATO speech, Trump is going to talk about that and we dealt with it before, because he's going to be between one of the girders or whatever from the Twin Towers there, marking 9/11, and parts of the Berlin Wall on the other side in the new NATO building in 2017. So I guess it's kind of the dedication of that building. So the idea that we have these periods between November 9th and September 11th. Now, you may not remember when we were dealing with this in the period of the judges, we had looked at that. Does anybody remember what it was that we had understood?
What date was that speech?
That was, I believe it was March 25th, 2017.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. believe that was it. If somebody can find a different date, then. Now, we had addressed it, just dealing with connecting November 9th, 2019 with September 11th, 2001, if I remember, because we had a center date between those, which was the 10th day of the 10th month of the 10th year, right? If anybody remembers that. So in 2010, we're going to have October 10th, which is Tishri 1, and that date is 7,640 days from November 9th, 1989. And then it's going to be 1,008 days. Let me see, is there any significant number? So anyway, that date was interesting in and of itself. And then when we get to the end of October, the 10th day of the 10th month in 1995, if we go between November 9th, 1989 and September 11th. So it's kind of strange that we get the same date, and it's Tishri 15. So it means if you go between November 9th and September 11th, 2001, you get the 10th day of the 10th month in 1995. If you go between September 11th, 2001 and November 9th, 2019, you're going to get October 10th, 2010. So you get 15 years difference between those, which I guess that kind of makes sense because you got the 30. Yeah, okay, it does make sense. So you're going to end up with the same date because you've got 30 years and you have September 11th. It would, I don't know if that, yeah, that would make sense. Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I should bring this up, but I'm gonna bring it up. My birthday, we calculated from assassination attempt of
It calculated it from what?
assassination from Trump, the attempted assassination from Trump.
To your birthday?
Yeah.
Like when the day you were born, or?
I'm
I'm having trouble hearing you, William.
I'm sorry, but I was just bringing that up. I thought, y'all brought it up to me about me being tied to the attempted assassination of Trump.
Yeah, I don't remember how we did that. Yeah, and Angela's mentioning there's a May 25th, not March 25th. So I have the wrong date.
No, I just bringing up the fact that y'all brought it up to me that my birthday was tied to his assassination attempt.
Yeah, but I don't remember. Okay, so Angela, you're saying it's May 25th, not March 25th.
Right. That's what I found online.
Yeah, sometimes I get things wrong. So, okay, so if I put in May, you probably are right. So I make mistakes. So we got to go 2 more months. Yeah, the May 26th is just the day after. That's just a news report. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be 10,059 days after November 9th, 1989, and 5,735 days after 9/11. Okay. I just wondered if that had any relevance with, because you got the Twin Towers and and he says we're standing between these two great events, right, in history. Okay, yes, so it's the 20th prime from William's birthday to July 13th, 2024. So that's what that was. So that was just something personal for William as a tie to the lines. And that's one of the points. Lots of us may have these personal ties that don't necessarily, they're not something we end up presenting as a major argument. Now, we have some that do, like with Stephen's dates and my dates, because it's attached to discovering major connections within these lines. So they can be analytical. But they also can be a witness to us individually, right? So, okay. So I think we've dealt with everything we can on this, at least at this point. I know it's There's other things we could put in here, I guess. But for now, for today, the two most important things with this are the 126 days from Leo to September 11th, 2025, and the 119 days from Comey's post to September 11th, 2025. Now, the question is, what do these 24 years mean as a span of time? Right? Because we're not predicting anything on September 11th, 2025. We're just saying it's a symbolic date, right? That's what we would be doing. There wouldn't be like, we're not going to say, the Sunday law is going to happen on that date, or, Trump's going to be assassinated on that date, or anything like that, right? That it would be nonsensical for us to make a prediction just because we have a date in the future. Now, some people will do that, right? They're going to look at a date and they're going to say, oh, this produces this date, so this is going to happen on that date, or that's going to happen, right? And we know that we can't do that. We know that that would be contrary to what we've learned. But we can see that it does become a part of the structure. So it becomes a symbol. Okay. I know we got like 15 minutes left. I don't know what should we do in the next 15 minutes.
Just a note about that date when Trump spoke at the United Nations headquarters.
Okay.
So it was, from the 25th of May, I think it's 2,300 days. Takes you to 11th September. And that was in 2023.
Okay.
But midway was July 18, 2020.
Okay, so we're going to put, it's May 25th, right? Is that the date it was?
Yes.
2017. Okay, and so this is, we should put actually, we can remember all these things, I guess, but we should put them on the chart. So you're going to have NATO, and this is going to be
Trump's NATO speech.
Okay.
We're missing an assassination.
What?
I just said you were missing a G in assassination in print.
Is that how you spell assassination?
Yeah.
Assassination?
Yep.
There's a sign in there?
That's right.
That's weird.
It's a sign to the world.
Yeah. Okay. As a sign nation. As sign nation. Okay.
And you might want
That's not how it's spelled, but you can leave it that way if you wish.
How's it spelled?
It's two AS asses. And then in Asian.
So I need,
Yeah. Kelly has it.
okay, so I need another like that. Well, I got too many S's now, right? Like that, I guess, eh? Okay, that makes more sense.
It's interesting that it's originates from
Gotta drop the G.
Islam. The word assassinate is from these
Okay, there's no
assassins.
G in it?
No, there's no G. So it's I, nation.
Okay.
So the word
Yeah.
comes originally from a group of these killers who were Islamic.
Yeah, I know. It has to do with hashish. They took hashish.
Yes, but it's interesting you have ass doubled there as well.
Yeah, with Balaam's ass there. What is hashish?
Well, it's a plant.
Okay. Some kind of plant. Okay. I know it's some kind of drug or something.
Yeah, so I think it's the marijuana plant.
What?
I think it's like a marijuana plant.
Oh, it's marijuana.
Right.
Oh yeah. Why do they have all these different names? Okay. So we got so the thing about May 25th then was, again, Stephen, what was the significance?
Yeah, so the HQ, you had Trump speaking at the HQ in Brussels.
Yeah, the NATO's headquarters in Brussels. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you had some numbers dealing with that?
Yeah, so 2,300 days takes you to 11th September.
What year?
2023.
Okay.
And the
Okay, so-
midpoint, July 18, 2020.
Oh, okay. So that we could put in here. So we're going to have this. I'm going to move this over a little bit just to give us a bit more space. And we'll copy this. So we're going to get here. I'm going to make this smaller. Okay, so we'll just go 9, 11, 23. And then this one we're going to have. So this is the midpoint is July 18, 2020. Okay, and so those we don't need. We don't need. Now, do you know the number of days?
To September 11th.
Yeah.
So 2300.
From here to here is 2300. So the other, so that's from here to here is 2300. So
What dates is that from?
you're saying
Oh,
July
I see.
8th is the midpoint.
Yeah, so July, so it'd be 1100. It'd be 1150 in between.
Okay. Yeah. Now, notice the 115 days, I can just add the 0, right? Get rid of all this. Kind of neat, eh? Ties us to this.
Yeah, 1/10 somewhere too. So there you have a 1/10.
Yeah, so we got another 10th. So the 115 days here is 1/10 of this. Okay. And so obviously then
108 is 1/10 of 1080.
yeah. So we got all these. Okay. So that's kind of nice. I thought there must be something about that NATO speech. Okay. So what we can say about this is we have the significance of this assassination attempt. We can say that it's tied to the symbols that we have here of 9/11 and 11/9 with 191 days. We can say that the NATO speech that Trump has on 5/25, we know, well, that's 5/25 is also connected to 252 to make 7/77. And in 2017, I mean, I didn't understand the 5/25 or anything, but I knew that speech was important because of the two symbols of the Twin Towers, girder, and parts of the Berlin Wall in that place where he did the speech. That we have another 9/11 symbol. So that's going to be 2 years before the other 9/11, right? So we got September 11th, 2023. So it's just a symbol. We're not marking anything on that date, but it gives us this symbol of the 2300 days and the 1150 days with July 18th in the center. So it's bringing July 18th into it. That is, and in that history, we have Trump in his first term. Now, so we got Trump's first term. Then we have this 9/11 symbol 20 and 23, and that's sort of foreshadowing the September 11th, 2025 date.
But the 9/11 of 2023 is also giving us that symbol of 22.
Yeah, it's 22 years from 9/11. So a symbol of restoration. Yeah.
So those, I mean, I'm looking at this, with those that have been studying here, we have the 2300 days, the 22 or 220 restoration. And that 2300 days occurring is saying the host and the sanctuary are no longer to be trodden down.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that this relates to in our study dealing with, and this is always a hard thing to talk about, but to dealing with FFA and what's happened with FFA is it seems pretty clear that that they've moved on from this truth. And we could see the parallel in Millerite history. There comes a point where James and Ellen White, they're not seeking to reach out to the leadership of the First Day Adventist movement anymore. They're, those people have moved on from Miller. They've rejected October 22nd, 1844. They think it's, the James and Ellen White are just a bunch of fanatics. And they have no influence anymore, right? I mean, I can't remember the last letter that James and Ellen White wrote Father Miller. I know they publish a statement from his where he basically, is not accepting the ideas that are being taught by James and Ellen White, but he is completely misled into what they are teaching, right? People familiar with that? What I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a similar thing with Jeff, and the question is, should we try to reach out to Jeff, do more? And I never give up on people, but there comes a time in which that person is definitely not reachable unless it's in some divine providence. Now, I do think what we found here is something that we can share with others within the movement. There are some simple things about it and some more complex things about it. So, we kind of have to just, leave things in God's hands to some degree, but also we know that we do have a responsibility to represent Christ. Yeah, so Jeff has rejected Palmoni, and he announced that 1,260 days after July 18th, right? So, December 30th, 2023 is going to basically say we shouldn't be using numbers. All that stuff with numbers was all, everything after 2012 was just deception. So it's sad. Anyway, so it will relate to the study. We'll see how the different Hebrew numbers and different things in the story would relate to this line. So I think this line will still bear more fruit as we continue going through 1 Samuel. Okay, so let's close with prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we are grateful for the time that we have had this morning, for the flood of light that has come into our lives, and your love that has been revealed to us through your care for us. But we know, Lord, that there's many others who need to hear your truths, and we pray, Lord, that we can listen to your voice and reveal your character. Bless each person, watch over them. May your angels take care of them, and may you bring us together again to study your word is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.